Are you in business but struggle to get customers? Are you in business who struggle to provide value? Are you in business struggling to think about your audience? If you answer yes to any of those questions, this video, this live stream, this podcast episode is just for you, because we're going to talk about why putting my audience first, why putting your audience first is really important when it comes to content creation, when it comes to business, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales. I'm going to talk about what I've learned in this episode. Let's get ready. So I make sure, if this is your first time here, welcome to the Phase Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Terryl Humphrey. And over the last half a decade, I produced over 893 podcast episodes while helping 19 entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. And one thing that I've learned is that if you don't put your audience first, you won't be in business. If you don't put your audience first, you won't be able to have an impact. If you don't put your audience first, then you're not podcasting right. So let's go ahead and get it started. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. This is going to be a phenomenal episode. So first thing first, putting my audience first. And the reason why I say my audience is because I don't want to come off as like teachy or no, like I'm in the trenches with you. Like I'm literally doing the work, and this is something that made sense today. So point number one, there's a book that says, I think it say fan first, or customer first, or anything that's related to your audience. Let's say audience first. Audience first. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that if you're in business, if you're creating content, if you are solving a problem, you have to think like your customer. If you're not thinking like your fan, if you're not thinking like your audience, you're just creating content. I'll give you a prime example. A half a decade ago, when I picked up my phone for the first time, and I picked up my tripod that wasn't even tall enough to get my eye level, and I had 3 books underneath it, 1, 2, 3, these are 3 books. And I wasn't even in the camera, so I had to tilt the phone back so I can at least be in the camera, right? So when I started, I had no idea about an audience. I had no idea of an audience. No idea of an audience, which means I was creating content for myself. I was recording videos for myself. Although there's nothing wrong with that, what happened is that I wasn't even thinking for my audience. I wasn't even thinking for my customers. I wasn't even thinking for nobody but myself. Why is that bad? In business, you can't think just for yourself. You have to think for everybody that's around you. And when I start to understand, I'm like, wait, hold on. It's not just me. This is me right here. But these people right here are my audiences. Or in other words, fans. Or in other words, customers. So while learning about everything that I was doing in podcasts, I'm like, man, something got to be right. Like, what am I doing wrong? I wasn't able to generate a lot of revenue because I wasn't thinking like my customer. I wasn't thinking for my customer. What's the name of this video? Hold on. Putting my audience first. I wasn't even thinking about putting my audience first. I'm like, man, what do I do? How do I do it? How do I figure it out? Now, that's not bad, but if that's the only thing I'm thinking about is what's my gain, what's in it for me, I'm not thinking about my audience. What this does for me, when I got into business, start learning the terminology of business, start learning the foundation of business, start learning how to sell, market, follow up, finance, all these different things that business consists of, I was like, why is it so overwhelming? You see, it's so overwhelming because there are so many pieces. This right here is called pieces. It is pieces of the puzzle that you won't understand what you're doing, but this right here is called pieces. Hold on. These are called pieces to a business. You see, when I start to understand, like, wait, hold on. You telling me all of these things come with business. You got to learn how to sell. In other words, you got to learn how to communicate with people. Then you got to learn how to market yourself. In other words, you got to learn how to record yourself and put yourself out there. Then you got to learn how to follow up. Not just put yourself out there once, but continue to put yourself out there. Then you got to learn about team development. First, you got to develop yourself before you develop anybody else. You see, when I was in the Marine Corps, the leadership principles, the first one is say that you have to learn yourself. Like, if you want to see change, you have to start with yourself. And I forgot it verbatim, but I'm paraphrasing it. Nonetheless, the pieces of the puzzle come together. If you don't learn every piece of the puzzle that's inside of your business, it doesn't matter what business you're in. I'm in the podcast business. I have a podcast production business where we help entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. And when I started to understand, like, wait, hold on, launch your podcast. When I got into business, it was like, okay, what experience do I have? The pieces to business is helping me. I ain't gonna say you. I'm gonna say me, helping me understand how to think for my audience. And it's a game changer. It's literally a game changer because it's coming off as I'm not as what is it called? Like, I'm not the know-it-all, but it's like I'm doing the work. I'm literally doing everything that I'm talking about, and I'm coming on here to inform my audience who are entrepreneurs to say, hey, you can do this, but if you're going to get in business, it doesn't matter what business you're in. Every business need customers. Every business need marketing. Every business need finances. Every business needs systems. Every business needs development. Every business needs structure. Let me come back to it. Hold on. There we go. Every business needs customers, marketing, finance, systems, development, structure, and team. Okay, why is this important? You see, when I got into podcasts, I wasn't even thinking about the business. I wasn't even thinking about my audience. I wasn't even thinking about the customers that I was looking to serve. I was literally just creating content. I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to figure out what I was doing, how to do it, how to understand, how to grow something, how to build something. And the whole time I was doing that, I was learning how to market myself. I was learning how to communicate. I was learning how to put myself out there. I was learning how to be relatable. I was learning how to make a connection. I was learning what makes people like me. You see, it's not just about me creating content. It's literally about putting myself out there that will make a connection for others to understand that I'm doing it. That I'm just like them. I'm no different than you. On the contrary, one thing that I've learned is that podcasting helps me have a platform. In other words, the platform, Phase Knowledge Podcast, let's just say this right here, and I'm talking. This is called Failure is Knowledge. And what happens is that people start to listen. People start to listen. People start to comment. People start to reply. People start to say, you're helping me. People start to do all these different things. But what this consists of is an audience. At the time, I'm thinking, man, nobody is watching my podcast episodes. Nobody's watching my or listening to my podcast episodes. And I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong? I wasn't thinking like my audience. You see, Business is understanding that there's a problem to solve. Every time I come on live, every time I press record, every time I press start, I'm doing something. My goal is to provide value around podcasting so that way you can really learn more about how to launch your podcast with confidence. It's not just about communicating. It's not just about interviews. It's not just about talking. It's literally about providing value that will educate my audience who are entrepreneurs to either launch their podcast and or learn more about business. Hold on. I need a drink of water to that one. Hold on. You see, when I start to really understand, I'm like, ooh, okay, what is this? What is a platform? A platform gives you something. And what it gives you is this. It gives you a voice. It gives you a voice to speak about things that you're passionate about. I was watching this interview with Beyonce dad, Matthew Knowles, and he got to talking about, he was like, somebody asked a question about podcasting, and he was like, if it don't make money, it don't make sense. Although you're passionate about it, you have to learn how to make money from it. And money is not the end all be all. Money is what's going to help you stay afloat. Money is what's going to help you stay alive. Money is what's going to literally help your business thrive. But one thing that I started to understand was that I was missing something. The thing that I was missing was that I didn't understand business. I didn't understand all the different pieces of the puzzle that comes with business. And so what this did for me is that it led me down a path. It led me down a path to go to school for business management. It led me down a path to go to certificates for entrepreneurship. It led me down the path to learn what I was doing. It led me down the path to purchase course. It led me down the path to purchase a podcast course, a business course, a sales course, a marketing course, a systems course, read books. You see the path that it led me down. There's a terminology, I don't know if I'm going to spell it right, but it's called business acumen. However you spell it. But it's really understanding business. Understanding business. And so for a while, I didn't understand business because I wasn't even thinking for my customers. I wasn't even thinking for my audience. I was just creating. I was watching this interview with Mr. Beast, and he was like, he got to breaking down YouTube very simple. He said, if your audience don't like it, then just create better content. Create better content where your audience will like it. And so when he said that, it didn't make sense when I heard it. But when I heard it again, after I got educated, I was like, oh, now it makes sense. Why? Because your customers, comma, your audience, comma, your fans comes first. And I emphasize first because if you're not putting your customers, fans, audience first, then you won't be in business. It's taken me a long time to really understand the challenges behind it. Yes, business is a lot. Nonetheless, getting into business to solve a problem is even more a lot. As I started to understand, I was creating a platform. I was having a voice. I just didn't want to talk about everything. I wanted to talk about something that was valuable. And over time, valuable looked different. When I went through my divorce, I was talking about how to work on yourself, how to find your dreams, how to work on your goals. But then when I start to really learn the language of business, I'm like, man, I just don't want to talk about the divorce. I want to talk about valuable information. I actually want to help people. I don't want to just talk about the bad moments. I want to talk about moments that people can literally gain some type of information from. Excuse me. Shout out to my wife. She always says it's always about the value. It's always about the value. And I'm always like, why is it always about the value? Because the value is what helps people. The value is what educates people. The value is what inspires people. The value is what impacts people. You see that valuableness only comes from you understanding the problem that you're solving. You see, it took me 2 to 3 years to really learn what problem I'm solving. So essentially, we help entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. And what does that look like? Confidence is delivering a message. Confidence is delivering a value. Confidence is educating around a problem that you're solving. It doesn't matter what business that you're in. Everything is a business. When I go outside and go to Walmart, Walmart is a business. I just can't go to Walmart and get the water and walk out. No, I gotta literally buy the water. Okay, when I worked at Walmart, I didn't understand that it was a business. I'm just thinking it was a job. So job versus business is that now I had to think differently. I had to learn differently. I had to get more educated. And when I got more educated, I started to learn why my audience comes first. If there's no audience, there's no platform. But in order for the audience to be generated, to be created, I have to be consistent. You see, it's like a two-way street. If I show up and do my part, my audience will show up and do their part. You see, it's all about exchanging value, exchanging time, exchanging energy. Many times that I struggled to understand was that in business, it takes time for it to for you to start making revenue. It takes time for you to start making impact. It takes time for it to start making sense. But time is all we have. You see, there's a saying that say tomorrow's not promised. I absolutely agree to that saying. But if you have today that's promised to you, won't you take advantage of the day that you have? I used to wonder, when I started to plan and try to do different things, I always was a forward thinker. But as I'm thinking forward and I'm thinking it for the future, I don't let today stop me from doing the work. Like, if I'm going to do the work, I'm going to do the work. The goal is to do the work. So in the future, the work that's from today, the future is set up differently. So when I start to understand putting my audience first is educating them around podcasting and or business. Everything that I'm learning, I'm bringing out. Everything that I'm applying, I'm definitely talking about. Everything that I'm reading, researching, and applying again, I'm bringing value to you. Why? Because it's some things that saves a lot of time, and it's learning from others who have been through what you're currently trying to experience. You see, podcasting. I did a podcast the other day, and I talked about how podcasting creates opportunities. It creates opportunities because your platform creates an audience. You never know who's listening. Somebody said this, and now it finally makes sense. You never know who's listening. You never know who's watching. But always remember, somebody's either listening to you and or watching you. What does that mean? That means that you have to understand that anytime you go out, anytime you go live, anytime you put yourself out there, you're putting yourself out there and people are going to watch you. People will watch you. People will communicate with you. People will support you. You see, it's not just about the content. It's not just about the podcast. It's not just about stories. It's about providing valuable information. So point that we just went over. First point was that fans first, customers first, and audience first. In other words, it doesn't matter what you call your audience. It matters that you put them first. Think for them. Think about what they're struggling with, what they're going through, and how you can help them. So the next point that I'm going to talk about is this. I talked about this in one of my previous podcast episodes, but I talked about how to document what's working. Document what's working and not working. I believe in documentation so much. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how you're doing it. I literally remember having my camera. This is a camera. Excuse me. Camera. This is no, it wasn't even nobody there behind me, behind the camera. But what was there was a tripod. And when I started to practice, for some reason, I like doing this. I like drawing a circle that say record, right? Because that's what it is. It's a button that says record. When I started to record myself, I started to document what's working, what's not working, why it's working, and how to improve it. Prime example, November 25th, 2025, I ran my first online training. And when I ran that first online training, I had one to two people that come onto the training. It wasn't a lot. And when they came onto the training, one, I was surprised because they actually came onto the training. So this whole entire time, I've been trying to figure it out how to get customers on the online training. It's finally making sense because people are actually coming onto the training. Okay. Then I looked at the next one. Next one was November 26th. I think I did a day after. One person joined, did the training, felt good about it. Fast forward, I did a total of 10 online trainings. Some showed up, some did not show up. And as I was looking at it and replaying it, I'm like, one, I hated my voice. I sounded like I didn't know what I was talking about. Two, it was like, why did I say it that way? Three, this was recorded. And as it was recorded, I went back and listened to it. Okay, what does that mean? Documentation helps you improve. Because if I didn't see what I saw yesterday, I wouldn't understood the problem that we're solving, which is helping entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence, and how to solve it. How to solve it. And it's mind-blowing because I've been trying to figure out what problem, what business, what solution I had to offer. It's not just about podcasting. It's not just about creating content. It's not just about putting myself out there and or marketing myself. It's about finding a way to generate revenue by putting my audience first. If I put my audience first, and solve a problem, hold on. Solve a problem, charge for the solution / implementation / have systems in place. Essentially, calendar, emails, text messages, offer page, funnels, all these different things, websites, so on and so forth. If I have all these things, if I have an audience, if I have a problem to solve, if I change, charge, it's supposed to say charge. If I charge for the solution / implementation and have systems in place, I can have a business that help entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. But more importantly, it's documented. What's working, what's not working, why is it working, why is it not working? You see, I start to ask questions like that. Why am I not able to close and make revenue or and have sales? Why am I not speaking to more customers? Why am I trying to figure out what I'm doing? Why am I constantly changing? Why? Why? Hello. Why discovers the truth. Some say the truth shall set you free. But what I think it is that the truth shall reveal what you're doing. The truth, the numbers, the data, the information, it will discover what you're doing and why you're doing it. Eamon, what's going on, bro? It's not the fact that it's not working for you. It's more so that you have to figure out how to work it for yourself. When I start putting my audience first, I start to connect, be relatable, share a solution, share a problem, share a struggle that I experience. I just recognized something, and I said it earlier. I didn't recognize I just said that. The implementation is what we're selling. The system is what we're selling. Because people get so stuck in their head when they about to launch their podcast with confidence. I saw this ad by Riverside. Riverside is a podcast distribution platform, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not for sure. Nonetheless, I saw the ad. Excuse me. And the ad was talking about how he don't think he's ready. And it was a he, and he was having a what is it called for the baby monitor thing, whatever the case is. I think an ultrasound. It was a guy having an ultrasound. He was like, I don't think I'm ready. And the doctor was like, well, everybody's waiting to hear about it. And later on in the video, that was like, well, everybody's waiting to hear about it. Well, I just don't think I have value to bring. And then towards the end of it, it was like, well, you should use Riverside to launch your podcast with confidence. Oh, not launch your podcast with confidence, but do something with your podcast. When I saw that, it wasn't the visuals that made me say, oh, this was good. It was the problem that they identified. Business is problem solving. When I have a solution to help others launch their podcast with confidence, I need to go out and provide that solution for others to launch their podcast with confidence. And so it took me a long time to get to this point, but when I start to understand that everything is a timing thing, everything is education, confidence, and understanding what you're doing, understanding how to do it is even more better. Last point that we're going to talk about, before we get to the last point, I just want to recap what we talked about in the first 2 points. First 2 points, you have to put your fans first, customer first, and/or audience first. It doesn't matter what you call them, you just have to put them first. Go into their shoes. What are they struggling with? What problem are they dealing with? And the second point that we talked about is that you have to, document what's working and what's not working. Last point that we are going to speak about is this. You have to consistently pivot. The more you pivot / let's say change, the more you understand. Over the last half a decade, I've had to change so many different times. I've changed my business model more times than I can count. And that's why I often always say that failure is knowledge, because you have to literally fail to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, why it didn't work, what's working about it, what can be improved, what can stay the same. You see, pivoting demonstrates focus. The more focused you are, the more you will understand what you're doing. And it took me a long time to recognize that all I was doing is helping people launch their podcast with confidence. I'm thinking I'm helping others build their brand, through podcasting and building culture through podcasting through podcasting. And by the way, these are all the the business models that I was doing. And I was doing so many different things. I was doing the same thing, but the language that I was using was so confusing. Like, bro, I don't even know what you do. And I'm like, neither do I. But I'll tell you this. When it finally made sense, in fact, yesterday, it finally made sense. I'm not helping others build their brand through podcasting. Hold on. I'm not helping others build brand through podcasting. I'm not helping others build culture through podcasting. I'm helping entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. That's it. That is it. That is it. So now when I start to think about my customers, when I start to think about my audience, when I start to think about the fans that I'm serving, what problem they start going through? Okay, lack of confidence. Okay, you're not confident with how you sound, you're not confident how you look. Okay, now you just have to learn how to practice to be on camera. How you do that? Well, easy. You take out your phone and you record a 30-second video and you introduce yourself, your business and the problem that you solve. It doesn't have to be long, but what it does have to be is that you getting uncomfortable. When you get uncomfortable, you learn how to launch your podcast with confidence. I don't need to solve every problem. I can solve one problem consistently. Shout out to my mentor, one of my mentors, in the Spartan Incubator program that I was in. He said that he had one problem and one solution. He has one problem, one solution. I'm like, how, bro? How did you do that? I'm trying to figure out how you went about doing that. Then he went from X amount, I don't remember the exact amount, X amount to X amount. So one was a one price and then the other was a higher price. And he told me, he said, I had one problem for one solution for one type customer. I'm not serving everybody. I'm serving one person. I'm serving like the same person. Or the same type of person consistently. And I'm like, that's it? He said, yeah. I said, bro, there's no way. It's that simple. It is simple. I just was making it difficult. I just was overthinking. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the belief. I didn't have the understanding. Nonetheless, I start to understand how to keep it simple. So just to recap everything that we talked about today, which was a phenomenal episode. Today we talked about putting my audience first. If you call them fans, customer, audience, put your customers first. Like, think like your customer and solve the problem that they are experiencing or the problem that you have experienced. The next point that we talked about is that you have to document. You have to document what's working and what's not working. And when you document what's working and what's not working, you can literally do more of what's working. Last point that we talked about is this. You have to consistently change. You have to consistently pivot. You have to consistently improve your business model, because your business model is not always set in stone. So when I start to understand that growth comes from failure, because it's knowledge, I started to learn how to become a better business person. Lastly, don't be afraid to fail, because failure is knowledge. Hit that follow button, hit that subscribe if you're a business owner, podcaster, or you just building something and you want to join the community. Hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, because today is the most important day to turn your failures into knowledge. Appreciate y'all.